Hi, I'm Certified Sommelier Beverly Crandon, and welcome to the Wine Down, where we talk about all things wine and make it highly approachable. Today on the Wine Down, it's an interesting one. We're talking all things glassware. The wine glass really does have a lot to play with how we taste wine, smell wine, all of that good stuff, more than other people seem to think. And so today we're going to break that down. And we're also going to make it simple. We're going to show you how you can be sure you've picked the right wine glass for your wine without breaking the bank. I know a lot of you are saying, listen, the wine glass is just this thing that I use to hold my wine. And while that may be true, that's just a fraction of what your wine glass is doing for you. Your wine glass, believe me, impacts the way we nose or smell a wine. It impacts how we taste a wine, and it impacts our general feel about the wine. You guys know wine is highly about aromatics. When you nose that wine, your brain is already telling your palate what it's going to taste like. That's your olfactory system in action, and I've got a post that speaks all about that. I'm going to put a link to it in the description. But remember, so it's your nose. Your nose is what's telling your palate, this is going to taste like this. Get excited or don't get excited. So when you're looking at a glass, this is where the glass really starts to matter. So for instance, the size of the bowl in the glass. When you have a large bowl, for example, that means you're giving the wine more surface area. That's going to allow for more aromatics to hit my nose, again, get my palate excited about what's happening. If you see me swirling a red wine and it's in a glass with a really big bowl, I'm likely trying to soften some tannins in there because I'm giving it oxygen by swirling in that really big bowl and giving it a lot of room to work. If you see me swirling a big bowl and it's a white, it's going to be a big lifted white. And so I'm looking to get more aromatics out of that and maybe, open up and let the oak or the beeswax on that, let that breathe and blow off. And my stem, you guys, the stem, so important. Don't forget the stem. The stem is there so I, with my hands, am not prematurely warming the wine before it naturally gets to a level or temperature. This is the worst thing one could do. So if in the past you've ever had a wine and someone gave it to you, you're at a barbecue in a plastic cup, and then you went and you had the same wine in a glass, and like, wow, this tastes remarkably different. It's not just all in your head. The glass is truly changing your chemical experience with that wine. Let's go further, if you will, into the anatomy of a glass. So I would say the most important thing in your wine glass is the size of that bowl, right? The bowl is where the magic happens, where the oxygen interacts with the wine, and then all those aromas then get lifted up to your nose, and your palate's getting excited. The larger the bowl, I would say you've got to have like a red wine in there, so you want to soften some tannins, or you've got a really aromatic red. If you look at a burgundy glass, you can see this got large bowl, but a narrow tapering at the top. So allowing those aromatics to come through on my Pinot Noirs. If you are looking at white wines, you'll find that a white wine glass is more U-shaped, and the bowl is not as big, and it's a little narrower at the top here because it's wanting to get all the aromatics like straight from the bowl. So some surface area here, but not as big as your red, right up into the nose. This glass that I'm holding right now is a Sauvignon Blanc glass, but I also pour sparkling wine in here as well, and we'll talk about sparkling wine in their glassware. And then I also want to talk about the rim. The rim is really important. When you go to a banquet hall and they serve you like the short wine glasses that are very thick, the rim is very thick, those are one of the worst you can use for nosing wine. The thinner the rim of your glass, the better your aromatics are going to come up. Not even just that, but as you sip, it's going to allow the wine to come onto your palate versus the thick ones where it kind of hits your lip first, then onto the palate. Those thick rimmed glasses, not ideal at all. And then I want to impress upon everybody again, the stem. Stemless glasses, not for you, not for use. They just heat up the wine. prematurely because your hand is there and you've got your, the warmth from your body temperature. The worst possible, I think, especially if you've got a wine that you cherish, you've opened up for a special occasion. It's just a good wine. Like, you don't want to change the temperature. Please use stems. And also, if you've got a wine glass, never hold it like this and walk around the party. They do this a lot on TV. It is so wrong. Changing the temperature of the wine. And that goes for white, sparkling, and red. Hold it by the stem. Okay, I've got Chardonnay in front of me poured into 3 separate glasses. And one of these glasses, the shape of it anyways, I think is something that people will find around their home. It's a common white wine type shaped glass. But I've chosen Chardonnay because we're going to test this. There are specific Chardonnay glasses. Chardonnay and bigger whites generally have a bigger bowl. And that's there so you can let the oak and any creaminess, any kind of big waxiness on there, beeswax on it, get that stuff to open up. And that is why there's a Chardonnay glass, and bigger white wines have oak glass with a bigger bowl. So what I have here with me first is the Loire glass. And I've chosen it because I like to have my Chenins in here. And Chenin Blanc can be made in many styles, and Chenin Blanc 2 can be one that can be very big and weighty. So I thought, let's pour the Chard in the Loire glass and see what happens. Then I have a Riesling glass. And please don't get me wrong, I do not go out and buy glasses for every single wine that I like to drink. I just have accumulated these things over time as a sommelier. And I will tell you, my Riesling glass is what I drink most of my white wines out of. So because I do that, and I think this shape is pretty common and found in people's homes, I thought, okay, well, let's include a Riesling glass in here. And then finally, what I have is the Chardonnay glass. So this one was made specifically for Chardonnay. And I don't know if you can see this here, but the bowl is much bigger on this one versus the others. So I'm going to start with the Loire glass. And the reason why I'm going to do that, my hypothesis, just so you know, I have not nosed or drank Chardonnay. I have champagne on the mind. Chardonnay out of this glass yet. This is my first time doing it, but I have drank out of these 2 before. So let's just see what happens. So I'm going to go with the Loire glass first. And the reason why, I've got a hypothesis that because this can deal with my really big Chenins, it will likely be able to deal with my really big Chard. I put the Riesling in the middle. I think of the 3, this may perform the worst. But let's see. Let's go with the Loire glass and see what happens. Such a lovely nose. Definitely picking up the nose. What I pick up more on the Loire glass when I nose this is white flowers and peach, like soft citrus. And again, remember, it's the same Chardonnay in each. So white flowers, soft citrus, but very aromatic, very beautiful on the nose. Now I'm going to go into the Riesling glass and see what happens here. Okay, Riesling glass, more muted than the than the Loire glass for sure. Riesling glass, I am getting white flowers, but it's not as perfumed. It's more mechanical, if that makes any sense. Like I know from nosing wine what white flowers smells like, and this is, you get that. Whereas here, like I could probably name it's like orange blossom. Whereas here, it's more mechanical. So already, you guys, that Loire glass is doing justice to my Chardonnay, and having a bigger bowl, I'm able to nose more out of it. And that really got me excited. I don't know if you saw my expression when I first nosed that. Okay, now we're gonna go and we're gonna have it in the glass that's actually made for Chardonnay from Riedel. Get that bit of swirl. And, white flowers, but honey blossom. Some flintiness in there. Oh, a little chalkiness. Oh, lemon zest, lime cordial. Like you see what's happening? And you guys, I'm not making this up. Okay, there's definitely a difference. I'm gonna go back to this Loire glass, so just in case. And then to the Shard glass, just to see. Okay, so for sure, my standard, like, and again, I drink most of my white wine out of this glass, and I think we all have a glass shaped like this. It is the Riesling glass, but all whites come in that for me in my house. But listen, the Loire glass and the Chardonnay glass definitely allowed me to nose the wine a lot better and get my palate excited for it. These two are very close, but I will say the Chardonnay glass, for sure, for the aromatics, was a bit more exact. This was not bad, but the Chardonnay glass was more exact. So goes to show with that larger bowl, you know what I mean? It helps the aromatics. And wine is about aromas. So how do you choose the best glassware without overcomplicating things? Like, listen, I don't want this to be a difficult task. Wine is meant to be enjoyed and experienced. So what I will tell you is go for aromatics over aesthetics. That lovely crystal, intricate glass is maybe nice to look at, but if it's not allowing enough oxygen to hit the surface of your wine and not allowing, therefore, the aromas to hit your nose, that wine glass is not doing its job. Put that down. Same thing goes for the wine glasses that are colored. You know, I hear people say, oh my God, I love this purple wine glass. It's so nice. That's nice to look at, but if I have wine in there, you know, one of the things that I do with wine is I first look at the wine, look at the color, because it tells me a bit about what I'm going to expect. Then I nose it, then I taste it. If I can't see it, it's impacting my experience with the wine. Again, go for aromatics over aesthetics. If you've got a big red wine, you want to get a wine glass that's got a bigger bowl, more oxygen on it. If you've got a delicate, fresh, lively, zesty kind of white, you know, you're going to get that U-shaped glass. Still a bit of a bowl in here, but the circumference around the rim is a little smaller. So it's really funneling the wine from the bowl up to my nose. That's what I want for my white wine glass. Listen, let me just talk a little bit about sparkling wine. A lot of times you will see sparkling wine being poured to you in a flute. And traditionally, people have said they pour them in flutes because they want to preserve the bubbles. You and I had this conversation at the start of this video. Wine is about aromatics. That flute blocks my ability to truly grab the aromas of a wine. I serve my sparkling wines in white wine glasses because I want to be able to experience the aromatics on a sparkling wine, on a champagne. I want to get that brioche toastiness, that baked apple. I want all of that, that cinnamon. I want it all. And my flutes block that. And if wine experience is about aromatics, why start with a glass that's going to block that? Lastly, what I'll say, stemless. You guys, stop it. I know sometimes you can't get away from it. You go to a restaurant and they serve you wine in a stemless glass. It's really impacting your experience of the wine. It's changing the temperature of the wine prematurely. But if you, at your home, you have some control there, I try to avoid using stemless glasses. It's really going to impact your experience with that wine. So that's a wrap. There you have it for the wine down, where we talked about all things stemware, glassware. So important. But listen, one thing I want you to know is you don't need a bunch of glasses for all the different grapes that you love to enjoy. I think if you had a Bordeaux glass and that works for all your reds, got the bigger bowl, you can swirl and soften tannins, get aromas, and then have one standard for your white wine. Again, that's all you need, the two. But also be mindful of the size of the rim. So you may not want to buy the IKEA wine glasses for $125. I love IKEA, but I'm just saying those ones, maybe not those ones. And then also, you guys, stop using stemless. If there's one thing you take away from this, is stop using stemless. It just changes your experience with the wine so quickly. But there you have it, on the wine down. If you have ideas for things you want me to break down, like we did today on the wine down, just drop me a message. Put it in the comments below. But anyways, cheers to you, and happy wine glass geeking outing. I don't know if that even made sense.